Hey there everyone, welcome to the live stream. So glad to have you. I am excited this evening. It is episode 71 of the Paint Party Livestream. We've been doing this, almost a year and a half of weeks. Not every week, but pretty close. 71 episodes that we have been doing this live stream. Those of you who've been here before know that it's pretty laid back. It's just like a open house. You pop in, pop out, stay as long as you'd like, and join the party. To join the party, you can comment wherever you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. And we can converse throughout the painting live stream. I love to engage with you, so feel free to ask questions or make comments. This live stream is basically my attempt to document or to kind of capture my progress learning to paint. About 2 years ago, I started teaching myself to paint here on YouTube and have been doing that for the last 2 years. So that is the MO for tonight. All right. Hey, Lola, it's so good to see you. Mom, it's so good to have you in the house as well. And I'm so excited because this week I have a unique experience for me. I don't often have in the studio audience, but I have my sister and brother-in-law and my niece here watching live in the studio. So I'm so glad to have an audience to perform to. I can see them off camera and they're going to watch in-house tonight. So it's great to have them here in town. We got rid of our motorcycles, so the windows are open, but hopefully you won't be hearing any motorcycle engines revving up and down Main Street because the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally has concluded for, I believe, its 72nd year, and it was, I hope, a good rally for most people, and but it's good to have quiet streets again here in our little mountain town. And we have also had a break in the weather, so it's a little cooler. All right, so tonight we are going to be painting this painting. Let me put it up on your screen for you. It's the 82nd rally. My mom just chimed in and said it's 82nd rally, so I was off a decade. I'm doing the 71st episode of this show, but it's the 82nd rally for the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. All right, so we're going to do this painting here. While I get that set, I'm going to change my camera so that, as always, I don't make you sick. So I will switch to this camera so I can turn this camera around to the canvas for you all, and we will get that set up. So this evening, the painting we're doing is some bluebells in the, this was taken in the Rocky Mountains several years ago, this reference photo. So let me get the camera set up. All right. And so that's what we're going to be attempting tonight. I've had this one sitting aside for a while because it is a challenge to do. The bluebells are in focus, but the mountains behind them are out of focus. And so that's going to be the challenge tonight, is to figure out how we can get that and how we can get that to read on the painting. So, all right, I'll switch you over to the, I need to flip it around. Let's rotate this. There we are. All right, now you can see the canvas and the reference photo. I'll put my palette in the right-hand corner so you can see my paint there on the palette, and we will get started. As we have been working, I'm going to try to, or the goal for this paint live stream is to begin to develop or explore the skills in a more loose brush stroke. So I'm going to use a larger brush. This will be like a 1-inch brush, and we'll just kind of try to do a more, I don't want to say impressionistic style of painting, but I want to do something that is a little more loose as far as the brush strokes. So, and now that I'm looking at this, I think we're going to frame this a little bit different. But yeah, we'll get started. So let's do, well, let's start furthest to closest, since I don't know what else to do. if I can open my paint, it's, there we go. It got stuck. So we'll put some white on the palette. I think we'll do a little ultramarine blue as well. Hope y'all's week has gone well. You're having a good one. Welcome to those of you that have popped in the last few minutes. I see some people, and I realize some of you are just lurking out there. I always forget the lurkers, kind of hanging out, just seeing what's going on, but glad to have you. We'll do our brown, blue, and white. That's kind of our fundamental starting point. So we'll do some sky. We'll put in the mountains kind of in here. I'm just not sure how to do this, but we will see. I'm gonna actually move that other plate so it doesn't rattle all night long. Okay, and we'll just put in some sky across here. It's very, very faint, just broad, kind of X strokes across there, so we have a basic sky. All right, that's easy enough. Then, now that we've done that, the thing that I'm debating is how to kind of make the background be out of focus, but still be representative of what's there. So I think we'll take some more of that dark blue and we'll make it less severe with some brown. We'll just kind of mix it in. This will be our mountain color. We'll just begin to put those in the background, going across there. I don't really know. Then we'll put a little bit of green on the palette. We'll just mix it all together. But before we do, I'm gonna take some progress photos, because I always forget. Those of you that are here all the time know. All right, we'll mix some green here with this. Again, desaturate it with the brown. It's coming forward, so we want to bring that. We need some sap green. Had some phthalo green. Some sap green will give us the color of that grass behind us. We'll just mix that in. Some brown. Probably do some burnt umber. Again, I'm just kind of playing around until I get something I like, until it works, because I'm not really sure. Bring that down into across there. Just kind of blend that in. We'll make some decisions about how that's all going to work in the end, because I don't really know if I want it all. All right. Then we'll do the greens. Put some yellows in here. so we can desaturate the greens without losing the green color. We can put some yellows in. That will bring it forward. We'll just kind of tuck that in and see what happens. Part of me is wondering as I paint this if I should have just focused on the bluebells. But live and learn. All right. Now I want to create a little bit of a mid foreground for these things to pop out against, but I want to desaturate, so I'll bring some white in. We'll do, that's going to be really bright, I think, but we'll kind of play with that. That way they have something to stand out against. We'll have to fix this up because it's a mess, but gives us some paint on the canvas. Once the paint's on the canvas, then we can see what's wrong with it and we can make it better. So I'm going to let that rest a little bit, dry up before I start putting in the things in the foreground. But that will give us a start, and then we'll adjust it as we go. All right, let's see if it's dried yet. Oh, it's getting there. It's a little... We'll just conversate a bit while we wait for that to dry. Or I'll waste time since y'all are quiet tonight. I know you're watching because I see you there, but I can't actually see who's on unless you comment, but I see there are people watching, so I'm glad to have you. Okay. It's getting there. We'll give a few more minutes for this foreground to dry up a bit. And then we'll come in, and I'm trying to decide how to render the flowers themselves. It looks misty. Yeah, it looks misty because it's a mess, Lola. I just put paint on and like mixed it all up. So that's, yeah, but I think the misty part is because the lines are not very defined. I don't have, you'll notice that between these different layers, there are not hard lines. And so I think that makes it read as misty. If I had put and drawn more defined lines, it would be much more in focus. And the only thing that makes things sink back or come forward is the saturation of the color, because the yellows, greens, reds are the first colors to drop out of our eye's perception as we go back in distance. That's why things that are in the distance look more gray-blue, because the color has dropped out to our eyes. Hey there, Travis. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for popping in. Love having my LinkedIn peeps pop in. It's so great to see you. Yes, it is what I want, Lola. It is what I want. You are absolutely correct. So, all right, I think we're dry enough there. We can jump into the, I'm going to put some more white out here on the palette. We can jump into the foreground a little bit, and we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I didn't want to do that. When I start talking to you guys, then my brain shuts down, I think. Or maybe my brain's just shut off most of the time. Who knows? All right, we'll take some green. And let's look at, since I don't know what I'm doing, let's do what we usually do. And we'll go for the darkest shadow parts first. So I'm darkening this with a little brown. Let me put some more in the green. Maybe I'll put some blue. Let me get some of this ultramarine blue, kind of darken that down a little bit, desaturate the green a little bit. There are, and we'll just start putting shadows in, and then we'll put lights, and hopefully then, so I think I want the bluebells really right here in the, so there's kind of some dark there. This is a dark kind of leaf there. Then we'll just kind of play around with this, see if this is a good. Hey, talented Amy Choi. Good to see you. It's been too long. So happy you popped in. Hope life is treating you kind and you are doing well. I miss you tons. Wish I lived closer. All right. And I'm going to play with this a little bit because I'm realizing that this is a tough subject to get. Let's see. Hey, Garen, does he have a stage name yet? A stage name? I assume you're talking about me. I don't have a stage name, but if you'd love to submit one, I would love to hear it. I don't have much of a stage or a stage name to have a stage, or yeah, but okay. Let's see. Need more. Yeah, bringing this kind of yellow into the green will give us a more organic green. Let me brighten it up a little bit. One of the mistakes I think that I made as a novice, I'm still a novice, but a really early novice, was when I looked at something and wanted it brighter, I would just add yellow to it, or add white to it, I mean, and white will desaturate the color. So if I add white to green, I end up with almost like a peppermint. And so if you add yellow, you hold on to the green tones. And yeah, so that's a little pro tip, or novice pro tip, something I've learned. And with acrylics, the key is layers. So we're just going to keep layering in colors and such in order to create what we want, because I'm not happy with what's coming together so far. But that doesn't mean anything. We just keep going because that's what we do. And I'll just take this and disappear it into the background, if that's a word. Make it disappear. All right. Yes, if I want it darker. Lola, were you talking about adding layers? That's absolutely a key. So I'm trying to draw some distinguish some of these foreground hills where the light's hitting, being a little more emphatic in my choices, maybe. We'll give the suggestion of some rocks and such in the back. This is a big muddy puddle in the right-hand side of your screen, lower right-hand side, or lower, yeah, right hand. Oh, gotcha. If you want it darker, put blue. Yes, blue will, now I got where your train of thought was going. Yes, the blue will also kind of cool down, quite literally, the greens and reds, or the red tones in the brown, really. So we'll put some, we'll just mix this in, and it kind of creates a hodgepodge color, but it's all coordinated because I'm just mixing all these colors on top of each other. So then when I put this back there, suddenly moves it back into the background. There it is. See the mountain? It just came out of nowhere. Well, out of my paintbrush, but it's pretty green. So yeah, we need some browns and blues to kind of cut that green, because it's like very Christmassy, peppermint, not quite peppermint. It's kind of an ew green. Ew green, that doesn't happen in nature green. So we'll put some brown in it and blue in it and make it more organic, hopefully. There we go, I think. See if that will hold. At least for one. It's still, on your screen, it looks really bright green. It's not as bad here, but we shall see. Okay. We can always add more, because we can always add more layers. Yay. There we go. Okay. All right, now I think I want to bring in the, I'm going to change out my palettes because this one's a mess. I'm We need to hear something from the studio audience. Let me see. I have a microphone on, so they're commenting quietly, but yeah, let me see. Here, I think I can give you something from the studio audience. There we go. I can't tell because my thing is plugged in, but you should have heard applause. Oh, we can also do I can do a bicycle horn. There you go. That's from the studio audience. No. All right. I think I'm glad they don't have microphones because then you don't hear the comments from the peanut gallery. So, no, they are kind encouragers of this bumbling artist. All right. Let's create some purple. Sorta. Lavender is blue with white and a tiny little bit of red. So I'm going to take a magenta, especially this. We don't want there's hardly any violet. It's this ultramarine blue. And we'll just create kind of some what are we going to create? We're creating some composition for this. Then we'll be able to go and add some layers to give it some 3D definition, hopefully. But I just want to create the main forms. Back here, there's just suggestions of some bluebells, so I'm just going to dab at the canvas. Then let's do a little bit of maroon or magenta, so we get that. And then to darken it, we'll just add some brown, which seems like what? But the red and the magenta is so strong that we can add that, and then it should help us to give us almost a shadow. It'll give us kind of a dark purple so that we get the shadow of these purple ones kind of back in the background. Okay. Little by little, we will get there. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I don't know what we need to do, but I'm going to take the green again, bring it in, grab a little of the ochre and the yellow to brighten it a little bit. Picture. The studio audience said from back there, they're probably 6 or 8 feet away from the painting. They said this helps the overall, starting to see the overall composition, so which is what we're going for. So let's now put in start to give some form to some of these leaves. And again, I'm using very intentional brush strokes. Because I diluted it with yellow, it's going to be really transparent, so we'll have to do a lot of layers. But we'll just start to kind of, almost like a sculptor, we'll go in here and just sculpt in some of these leaves where the sun's hitting it or not. we'll put, there's a bunch of kind of do that. And then we'll define this as we go. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to add the rock in eventually?
The rock?
Yeah, the back one.
Like up here? Or which one? Back here?
No, the other one.
This
The
one?
behind. Yeah.
I will eventually. You can see right here. So my niece asked if I'm going to add the rock in, this rock on the side. I've laid in some of this shadow. And then to make the rock appear, then I'll be able to just come in and put in the highlight on top, and then it'll look like there's a rock without me having to draw the rock in. So that's what we want to hear, Lola. Lola said that's what we want to hear. So good feedback or good questions from the studio audience. All right. So now when I look at this, I want to do something kind of the same thing. I want to kind of get a minty greenish yellow thing to do some different there's some different lights back here. So I don't know. I've kind of apologized to you watching online because it looks like in the studio, this is very kind of yellow green, like an organic green, but it looks like my camera, I think, is optimizing for the color because it is really fluorescent green on your screen. Okay, if I turn off my light, that's more what I'm seeing in studio. So the light, I guess, is causing the camera to interpret that almost as a fluorescent green, which kind of looks weird, but it's not. It's more organic green. So that's what's going on. Just so you get a perspective of kind of what it's looking like in the studio. All right. Yeah, this one is as challenging as I expected it to be. Let me see. I'm gonna change to a little bit smaller, not probably like half-inch brush. And hopefully that won't create too much drama. Or I won't overpaint things, but actually, let me put some light yellow. Oh, I just lost my camera. Hey, Tyler, thanks so much for joining. Good to have you. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate the kind words. Let's see, I'm just trying to... This is like a really orange yellow that I'm mixing here, and I want more of a buttercup yellow. So trying to remix that. I don't know why my phone keeps glitching out. Sorry about that. Every so often. Okay. going to begin to put some of these buttercups back in the background. Just a few spots. All that hassle just for that little bit. But we'll just keep adding some layers as it dries, because this will have to cover the green underneath it. Now I'm going to go back to the buttercups, mix my blue again. And let's see if we can create some shape. We'll give some dark spots, and then we come in with the light blue, almost white. Should be able to really mark where the sun is hitting these flowers. Gonna mix just a white blue up here. So okay, that'll start to give us, till I pull the bristles off my brush, I just did, that'll start to give us some definition for these flowers. If you get, again, this is all a play of light and dark, so it's all, that's all we're doing, is playing with lights and darks. This painting, often, especially when I started, I was really conscious of the limit of my ability. And this painting is pushing me right up against the limits of my skill, which is great because it forces me either to get better or give up, which I don't do. So, but figuring out how to get past the limit of my skill to improve something is the fun part, I guess. But I feel it especially in this painting, which I kind of knew with my I really was very aware that is the challenge for me right now. Okay. All right. Mixing some of this darker brown and green to create a kind of contrast color for some of these stalks over here. That way they pop in. Again, the play of light and dark, the suggestion of shadows starts to give you three-dimensional form with very little actual drawing, very little actual painting. Of course, John Singer Sargent was a master of this. The ability to lay down one or two strokes of paint and make it look like he had painted a whole canvas. But definitely start to see some three-dimensional form come out. And what we'll do is take that, bring up the chroma, meaning the color value a little bit. We'll just draw in some shape on the opposite side. just going in now really and just adding some detail to this, seeing if we can oh. Okay. All right. Let me turn off my lamp so y'all can kind of see a little more realistically what the painting is looking like. Because again, that green is, for some reason, turning up like a bright green. All right. Or almost like a neon green, and that's not how it's rendering in person, but yes. Question from the audience. Yes.
Are you going to make the yellow flower brighter?
Yes, I am going to make, the question is, am I going to make the yellow flower brighter? I am. The yellow is a very transparent color. See how you can see the green through it? So really, I should have not painted the canvas. I should have left that white and then painted the yellow, because then it wouldn't show through. But since I have the green already there, I have to keep putting layer after layer on in order for it to color. So that's why I have yellow here on my palette still. So that's a good point. Let's just go in and do that while we're doing. We might as well put another layer, right? So let's put some more. And it still shows the green through. So we'll just keep adding layers until it covers. And I'll mix a little brown with my yellow to make it a little more, to cover a little better, and we'll do some there. We'll just keep doing that and give it a little more. Once it dries, then we can add more. And the acrylic colors always dry darker than when you first paint them. Once they dry darker. So we want to do that as well. I think I want to take some of this color we have that is this kind of brownish yellow. I want to dilute it a little bit, darken it just a tad. And I want to start to put some different colors back in here, because this is not all just green, it's different. There's different grasses and things back there that we can't really see, but that'll help. Then let me take reddish brown to make it some darker colors. We'll just mix it, again, a muddy mess. Then we can bring in some of those colors here. I think we can use that same color. Come up here. Put that suggestion of that rock back in, or that there's rocks back there. Let me get some white. Whoa. Whoa. Put way too much white out, but that's okay. That'll help us get some put some interest in the background without, hopefully, without distracting the eye. There's snow right up there, hasn't quite melted. So we'll just leave that out on the mountain. There. We'll see. That should work. I don't want to bring this, that rock came a little too far forward. See how I did that? Put the highlight. That's what I was talking about earlier. I put a little bit there, and then it looks like there's a rock sitting back there. Then I can always paint more over it. But then I come over here. Do this. And I don't really know what is in these back bluebells, but there's definitely some shadows back there.
How do you pick your reference photos each week? Is it by something you want to work on specifically? Or?
Yeah, the question here in the audience is, how do I pick reference photos? Is it something I want to work on each week? Yes, that is part of it. Also, I have a group I belong to on Facebook that has where photographers let you use their photos. So what I've done, actually, and I could take a break and let this dry a little bit. I'll switch cameras over here. So for all of y'all who are not here in the audience, ooh, my forehead's really shiny. Woo! I'll go over to my screen, and if I were more prepared, I would be able to share my screen, but I don't know how to do that directly in my software. So let me show you I'll just turn my camera the lo-fi way. Okay, so this is the setup. I have this screen off camera every week, and it has my reference photo so that I can see it. It's the same one. I saved this slide from a Google slide and put it in the right-hand corner of your screen. But you'll notice that I have on the left-hand side like dozens and dozens of reference photos in slides. And all of these that say used on them are ones that I've already painted or we've done on live streams already. So I move them to the bottom once I've used them. But I have a whole probably 20 or 30 that are different reference photos that I want to paint at some point. And so that's kind of, these are ones that I know I want to paint, but I may not be ready to paint or may not have the skill to paint. And so that's kind of how it goes. So yeah, but for this one, it was to practice the looser brush strokes and the looser kind of not as photorealistic painting style, and because I think this picture of the mountains is really pretty. So that's kind of why I chose that. So good question. So yeah, that's the deal, and that's kind of how I pick it. And I know there are always, actually these flowers should be up here according to the reference, but
So from this angle, I suppose because that lower field is angled down,
mm-hmm.
like the reference photo, you can tell that it's a lower altitude field almost.
Yes.
This looks like it's on a hill. Like you're coming over, you could go down over a hill.
Right. So the comment in the studio, she said the reference photo looks like it's a lower altitude, but here it looks like you go down over a hill, and that's absolutely, that is true, and that's what it is, a lower altitude, or it may even be higher, but we're up, our perspective is down at the ground. I took this down at the ground. So you actually, if we were there, you would walk down over the crest of this hill into the valley. There's a valley in between those two kind of, and then you go up the next one. So yeah.
In the reference, it looks like that is the valley.
Right. Right. Yeah, it looks like you're in the valley is what you're saying? Yeah. Probably because I was taking it so far down. In your group of inspiration photos, is the sunset pic the one Dad took up with the Yates? Yes, that is correct. I decided to move that up because I love those colors. I'm probably going to have to use multiple reference photos when I paint that. What my mom is referring to is the Yates head frame of the old mine here. It's called the Yates shaft or the Yates head frame. And one of those reference photos was a sunrise or a sunset above, or I guess it would have been a sunrise because Yates is over in the east. And so when I paint that, I will make the head frame more pronounced. So I'll probably have to use multiple reference photos when I do that. But yeah. Good question. Appreciate the interaction. Always makes it more interesting when there's somebody to talk to. Or things. It also makes me think about my process. Like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Okay, I think we're going to go back to the background a little bit and reestablish some of those images or the mountains in the background a little bit. So I'm mixing the blue, the brown. Oh, it was actually a sunset looking west from work. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It has some beautiful colors. I'm thinking of doing that or a version of that for one of the fundraisers locally here. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if I can create that same, the whole thing is, can I create the feeling of the picture as opposed to like not necessarily creating the exact picture, but can I create the feeling I had or the feeling when I see it? And so, yeah, that's... You can look through those. All right. Yeah, we'll just reestablish. Notice I'm now putting in a little bit more of a definite line there, so you get really that feeling of the mountain in the distance, because there's a distinct line against the skyline. But again, I took out all the colors but the faintest. It's basically a blue, really muted blue-gray, because all those colors drop out as we go further and further back. And that's one reason it was interesting. I never realized that until I learned that principle. I live in the Black Hills, and the reason that the hills look black is because they are deciduous forests, and at a distance, especially a long distance, all of the greens in the trees pretty much disappear and fade out. And so when you coming west on I-90, all of a sudden the hills come up in front of you, and it looks like they're black hills, especially at dusk, because the human eye does not perceive those color variations till you get right up on them, and then you're like, oh, they're actually green. They're trees. So, yeah, that's the deal. Anyway, but that's what to me, one of the interesting parts of painting is, like, once you learn these things, it's not like rocket science, and it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like, but unless somebody explains it to you that the yellows and greens drop out and the reds, and then you have your blues, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, now I get it. Okay. That'll give us a little more distinction in our mountains back there. Let's see. All right. I think I've painted as much as I want to on the mountains. They're still kind of a mess, but we'll leave them back there for now, and come back to the front and see if we can create some, kind of at that point in the mountains or in the painting where I'm just like, ugh, I want to just walk away. And every time I know that I hit that point, that's the time you keep going, because something good about to happen, usually. But we'll see if we can make something good happen in the next 30 minutes or so, 30, 40 minutes.
Is it harder having someone watching you
No.
in person?
The question was, is it hard having people watching me in person? No, because there's people watching online. Yeah.
Still,
No, because I'm not...
you can see us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously your family, but like the reason that I think I've been able to do this as well is because I started not to try to be good at all, but just to do it for fun. So it's still fun whether, like right now, I feel like I want to just throw it in the pile of rejects down there and walk away. And the same with last week's. I mean, it's okay. It's like you could tell what it is, but I'm like, eh. But that's part of the, to me, that's part of the process. And it's like, if you don't push through the part, you don't get to the part where it's like, oh, the cute puppy, or the, you know, the ones that actually work. So yeah, that's kind of at least my philosophy and my approach. And it's amazing if you kind of, not that I don't care what people think, but like if again, also I'm not trying to make this, not trying to be good to like make like my job or sell art. So like I just paint what challenges me and I paint what I like. And if someone else enjoys watching it, like when I started doing these live streams, I didn't think anybody would watch. And then Lola showed up first, I think. And she comes every single week. And I'm honestly shocked most times that like people literally will sit and watch some stranger on the internet paint for a couple of hours. But some people have told me it's really relaxing for them to watch. And so I'm like, well, if you're, and then I have had people say, oh, I could never do that. I'd be so nervous. It would, and I said, well, probably if I let myself think about it too long, I'd be nervous too, but I don't. Yeah, I don't give it a lot of thought. I just kind of do it week in, week out, and 70 episodes later, it's like, oh, I did a thing. And I have, when I started hanging up this a couple weeks ago, I started hanging up some of this art because I was like, it's all just laying in piles around my studio. I was like, I got to get this off the floor and such. And I was like, oh my goodness. I put all the ones that I had done that were fruit in the kitchen, and I had like 6 or 7 paintings down there on the wall, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize I'd done cherries and pears and lemons and grapes, and it's like I forgot I did those. So anywho, okay. Now I'm just trying to go in and muddle my way literally through. Muddle my way. Christmas is coming. We'll muddle through somehow. That's where my brain goes. Crazy people, I'm crazy. Just trying to create some more interest and a little more detail in this part without getting more, without overpainting or making it too photorealistic. So I wish I had more. Yeah, I wish I don't know. Maybe All right. New brush alert. I'm going to use a new brush. As in brand new. So, I'm going to just put a little bit of this where the light meets the bounces off this leaf. It's difficult because I matched too closely the color behind it. Children. I have misbehavior in the studio, y'all. I always knew when I was in the classroom and the kids misbehaved that it was time to switch to a new activity or a new thing. The kids are getting bored. Time to learn a different way. Okay, everybody, stand up and let's do jumping jacks. Or some such nonsense. It's amazing how excited high schoolers get when you say, okay, everybody, close your books. And then they get all excited because they think they're going to get out of class early. We're going outside. You still have to have class, but you could go outside. Oh, Mr. Steve, we thought you were letting us leave early. I don't do that. I actually, the last class of the semester, would never tell them, but the last class I would do a class where I told them like what I had learned that year from them and like how I appreciated them being in my class, and then we would walk downtown and get ice cream, and then they got out early. So that was their one class of the year that I would usually let them out early. Then they were really excited because it was
Funny how you see things as adults. When we used to get to go run and hug a tree at school to break things up, we just thought it was exciting, but
yeah.
looking back, it's like, oh, we were probably being naughty in class and it was a break.
Yes. The comment is like how differently you see things as an adult, and it's definitely true, especially like as a teacher. You're like, oh, okay. Well, when I was teaching, I came to teaching as a non-traditional teacher, so I didn't really know what I was doing. Kind of the theme of my life. But you can always ask, what kind of classroom would I want to learn in? And what kind of teacher would I want to have? Outside of letting the kids out every day. Never go to class and never do homework. You can kind of figure out a lot of it by recognizing, oh, this is what I would like to do, or Man, I would be so bored if this was my teacher. That's the bad thing when you realize like you're boring yourself. Then it's like, oh, I'm the teacher and I'm boring me. It's time to do something different. Okay, I put some highlights into the bluebells, and now we have to go back in and really reestablish the lowlights and the midtones so that, because right now we've lost, if you look, we've lost again some of the, we've lost some of the three-dimensional feel. So we need to reestablish some of that. And you do that by tucking dark right up against the light. That's the way our eyes perceive variations or shapes, is because we see the dark variation of color. We perceive it as slight variations of color, but it's darkness right up against the light. Okay, let me turn off the light so you can see kind of what I'm doing there a little better, because it looks a little weird. And again, I am at the limits of my capacity, which is just fine, but we will do the best we can right now, and then we'll be happy with that. At some point, maybe later this, like this next year, going into 2023, I've thought about going back and painting some of the paintings I've done before, and now doing them again based on what I know now and the things I've learned, and see how much difference that would be. Okay. So much of this, as we've said before, is just going back and forth, lights to darks, reestablishing, reshaping, and eventually you get Plus, y'all know kind of my history with flowers. We are not good friends. This is the first time, though, I've thought that I forgot. Oh yeah, I can't paint flowers. I'm not good with flowers. I figure I'm just going to keep doing them until I am good at them. And eventually I'll figure out the secret sauce. But I have definitely made my fair share of ugly flower paintings. We're getting there, little by little, y'all. All right, I think we're starting to get there. We have just a few minutes left, so we'll try to put a little detail that will be deciding detail or really defining detail. can always tell when my brain has to work harder because my mouth stops moving. Somewhere in there must be a life lesson. Okay.
You mentioned it's the end of your ability. What is something that if you knew how to do better, it would make this easier?
The question here in the studio is that I mentioned I'm at the edge of my ability. What would make it easier? I suppose if I knew that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was
No,
something else.
well, my suspicion is I would be better at this particular painting if the better I get at noticing the slight variations in the different tones. So like, because the bluebells we look at that and say, oh, they're blue or they're purple. But there's like little bits of white, sort of. There's little spots that are, and getting those differences in that are very, very slight in, well, really the term is the values of the color. Because if this was in black and white, if I took a picture of that and looked at it in black and white, I would be able to see exactly what's off because there's no color. Our eye is so distracted by the color, I would say, oh, this is way too bright, or this section is way too dark, or not dark enough. And usually, a lot of beginning painters, but especially me, the challenge is the variation in the values. And that also fixes it. So the more efficient I get, or the more skilled I get at recognizing shifts in value, then the color becomes kind of secondary. Because if you get the values right, and that's usually when paintings don't work for me, it's because I haven't, in this case, the same. Like I started just moving backward to forward, and I didn't go in and really define my values strongly before I add color. Often the paintings that do better are the ones that I go and paint like in shades of browns. Like I'll do almost the whole painting in shades of browns and then go in and add or light blue or some kind of middle color. And then you put the color on top of it, and then all of a sudden it works. So yeah, if you look at most of the paintings that you're like, oh, that one's better than this dramatically, it's because I've gone in and put in, which probably is a smart thing that I just talked that out, because I mean, I know that intellectually, but it's, again, it's just, yeah, it's that constant practice of it, doing it over and over and over until it becomes a habit, and until that's all you see. But yeah, right now I'm kind of just putzing around. I mean, it's not bad and at a distance, because I'm doing such loose brush strokes, like I'm not painting very tightly. when you get up on it, it just looks like a bunch of blur. But from a distance, you're like, oh, I can kind of see what that is. And then probably what I'll do actually is this will be kind of the first phase, and then I'll come back and work another few hours on this and maybe even repaint sections of it. But yeah, I often will do that where I look and then I leave it overnight or a few days and then come back and say, okay, now.
Fresh eyes.
Yeah, looking at it through fresh eyes, and you see, oh, it's not as, typically I come up here and I'm like, oh, it's not as bad as it looked or I thought it was. And so then you just refine what needs to be refined. So, yep, that's kind of, at least that's my approach. I am going to, the problem when you get, for me, when I get into a spot where I don't really know what to do and just keep painting, then you get, I mentioned earlier, overpainting things, and I'm on the border of that where you just keep making marks and it's not improving anything or it's not making anything better. So I'm almost to that point right now where I'm like, okay, this is not making anything better, so gotta take a break or give it a break. But there's a few things I think I can do to like get make a few marks that are intentional, that will make an impact.
Is painting relaxing to you, or is it too much of a mental?
Is it relaxing or a mental thing? No, like it's almost meditative. Like I forget what I assume like if I meditated would be like I don't, I'm not thinking, yeah, you just kind of go into a zone and I don't think about, oh, my bills are due or whatever, or, you know, whatever meeting I had today, or, yeah, so that's the other reason, like, I think it, when I started was like in the height of COVID, and I knew like I was not healthy because I was focusing so much on all the doomsday stuff. And I realized no matter what was going to happen or what did happen, like it wasn't good for me just to feed my brain that stuff. So I was like, oh, let me just do something creative. And that's when I started painting, and then it just really took off because it is fun for me. And I think because I didn't make it into a thing that I had to be good at or that was like a performative thing, it was literally like, let me just, well, and I wasn't good. Like, I'm still not very good, but I'm getting better. And then when you do, you realize, oh, I can, if I just keep doing this for enough years, eventually I'll be decent. And then I follow people who have improved dramatically and are people that I look up to, painters that have been doing it, you know, a few more years than me, and I'm like, oh wow, that's, you know, they've dramatically improved. So if I just keep going, I'll get there eventually. So anyway, I'm overpainting now, so I'm gonna not accept this one. After I say I'm not gonna paint, I'm gonna overpaint, then I do. Okay, I'm done. I am done at the level of my ability for tonight, and it will get better when I come back to it. So, alrighty, let's see. Garrett just came in and was wondering how you are doing. I showed him and he said, how does he paint so well? Oh, thanks, Garrett. Lots of repetition. I paint so well, similar to the way you saw so well. You saw a lot of twigs and logs, and you get better at sawing or hammering or anything else. All right, y'all, I'm going to move the camera back so y'all don't get sick on me here. And we will wrap this thing up with a pretty little bow. Whoa. Okay. I think my camera's correct. Okay. Alrighty, I'll switch you back to the camera. Okay. Whoop. And let me get rid of my... Your response got a smile. Okay, y'all, I appreciate you joining me for the live stream. We're ending a little early tonight, but again, like I fizzled out in my ability. So, but I'm not unpleased with what I've done, or not displeased is the word. This is where we are for tonight, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I think I can still work with this. I can still figure out how to improve it, and I'm happy for what I was trying to accomplish. I feel like I did keep pretty loose brushwork. There's not a lot of detail in this painting, and getting the background to kind of blend into the background without being a focal point was kind of one of the aims, and I think we did that tonight. So I feel proud of this, even though it's not necessarily very pretty or one of the best I've done. That being said, I've had a couple of these over the last 2 weeks that are kind of, but we will get back on track and paint some better ones in the next few weeks. All right, we will be back here next Monday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time and 7 p.m. Central. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see the progress photos and final photos of paintings that I'm painting. You can check that out on Instagram. All right, other than that, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you here next week for episode 72 of the live stream. Have a great week, and I'll see you then.